Hey, 8th grade. Long time no see. Hope you're doing well. I'll be back next week, next Tuesday, and but I do need to get started on a new unit this week. I will let you know that I'm almost done grading all of the Block 5 punctuation tests, and so far they're decent. Some of you did really well on the capitalization. Way to go. So good job. Let's see. We're starting a new unit of phrases, and one main difference that I want to focus on, difference between a phrase and a clause, is that a phrase does not have a verb. There's no subject, no verb. A phrase begins with a word that designates what type of phrase it is, and usually ends with a noun. Okay, so that is certainly true of our first phrase, which is prepositional phrase. Begins with a preposition, ends with a noun, an object of a preposition. If it does not have an object of a preposition, it is no longer a preposition. The first word, if that word that looks like a preposition does not have an object at the end of it, it is no longer a preposition. It is instead an adverb. Okay, so truly, Mr. Bradley's going to pass out your packet, and there's a list of prepositions on there, and actually those are preposition wannabes. They're either going to be at the end of a poorly written sentence, or they're going to have a noun after them, okay, or more than one noun. There could be, you could find a compound object of a preposition, but with the prepositional phrase, the first word is the preposition, always the preposition, and then the last word is the object of a preposition. Now, I'm going to stop using prepositional phrases to describe this type of phrase, because they are actually two types of phrases: an adjective phrase and an adverb phrase. That's all a prepositional phrase is. It's either an adjective phrase or an adverb phrase. It falls into one of those two categories. So if you say, well, the adjective phrase here, pick out the adjective phrase, then you need to understand I'm looking for a prepositional phrase that's functioning as an adjective. Well, how are you going to know if it's functioning as an adjective? Very, very easy. Very, very easy. Write this down somewhere on the side. Adjective phrases must always, 100% of the time, follow immediately the noun that they are modifying. Okay. Well, what do they do for that noun? Prepositional phrases, in their essence, they give some sort of relationship with the word they're modifying, or some position with the word they're modifying. Okay, preposition, it gives us some sort of relationship or some sort of position with the word they're modifying. And so that an adjective phrase gives us some sort of relationship, some sort of position of the noun that comes right in front of it, okay, immediately preceding it. It cannot be too far away, otherwise you have situations the hunter killed the bear with the beard. Okay. The hunter killed the bear with the beard. See, with the beard has to be right after hunter. Okay? Otherwise your sentence is unclear. You have a misplaced modifier. Okay? So, adjective phrases, which are prepositional phrases functioning as adjectives, okay, always come behind the noun they modify. Now let me tell you something else about adjective phrases, and you can note this as well. Usually we will find a bunch of adjective phrases in a string, one right after the other. Now why would that make sense? Well, because each prepositional phrase ends with a noun, which could be modified by the following prepositional phrase, which ends in a noun, which could be followed by another adjective phrase. You see what I mean? Because there's always a noun that comes right in front of it. So typically, well, I won't say typically, but it's not unusual in any way to see a string of prepositional phrases. And those are adjective phrases. You see those mainly with adjectives. Okay? So those are adjective phrases. And adjective phrases, once again, is just another name for prepositional phrase functioning as an adjective. Our other type of prepositional phrase is an adverb phrase. Adverb phrases, because adverbs can modify numerous things. We're going to find adverb phrases in numerous places. The one that's most obvious in my mind is the prepositional phrase that's at the beginning of the sentence, that's followed by the comma. Okay? If a prepositional phrase is at the beginning of the sentence, it has to be an adverb. Okay? Has to be. Because there's no noun in front of it that could be modified by an adjective phrase. Adjective phrases have to have the noun right in front of them. So if we start off our sentence with a prepositional phrase, that prepositional phrase is 100% adverb. Okay? So we have our adverb phrase, and then generally, we'd have a comma that would come right after it. We study that in punctuation. Okay? Two other places. It will follow, an adverb phrase will follow a verb. Okay? Well, let me say it this way. Let me give you this sentence. I followed into the forest. I went into the forest. Into the forest. Into is my preposition. Forest is my noun. Into the forest, my prepositional phrase. Okay. I went. Went is my verb. So that's pretty obvious. Now, here's something that's going to throw you off, though. What if I put a direct object in there? I followed the wolf into the forest. I followed what? Wolf into the forest. Does into the forest modify the wolf? Does it tell me more about the wolf? No. It tells you where I went. Okay? It tells where I followed. And so don't be fooled by that direct object. Ask the question, okay, what is it telling me more about? What's the relationship here? Is it with the verb or is it with the noun? Okay? Let me tell you one more place that we would find an adverb phrase, and then I want to talk a little bit more about the phrase itself. Another place where we will find an adverb phrase is right after an adjective or an adverb. This lesson is familiar to me. To me. Okay? To is my preposition, me, my noun, pronoun. Okay? Familiar is an adjective. Adverbs can modify adjectives. It's like, to what degree is it familiar? That's the relationship. Or how familiar it's to me, you know. Watch for adjective or adverbs. Okay. The prepositional phrase right after an adjective or an adverb has to be an adverb phrase. Has to be. Adjective phrases cannot modify other modifiers. They can only modify nouns. They're very, very weak that way. They can only modify nouns. Okay, that's it. All right, so let's go back. I want to talk a little bit about the prepositional phrase itself. Okay, told you it starts with a preposition, ends with a noun, but what could be in between the preposition and the noun? Well, what you're going to find the majority of the time are adjectives. Okay? Articles, the, a, an. But you might also find a conjunction. Okay? Like and. If we have a compound object of a preposition. Okay? That's what you're going to find. Modifiers. Conjunctions, that's the only thing you'll find in between there. Will you find a verb? No, because it's a phrase. Will you find a subject of a sentence? No, because it's a phrase. It will not have any of those important things in there, okay? Just modifiers, just extra, okay? So what does that tell me about the phrases? Well, we're doing a whole unit on decoration, okay? Now there's some that are more important. Some phrases are more important than others. Prepositional phrases, got to tell you, they're a lot of decoration. Okay? They're modifiers. Modifiers make sentences better or make things better. If you do modifications on something, you make it better. Okay? I'm going to let Mr. Bradley pass out the Hobbit in-class thing. I like reading this first little bit of the Hobbit with introducing prepositional phrases because it's chocked full of them. All right, and it really helps you see, okay, where does one prepositional phrase begin? Where does it end? Okay, always begins at the preposition and ends at the noun. Don't be surprised to see them in a string. Okay, so let's take a look. I have my little copy here. Let's take a look. I have about a minute left before this video ends. In that first paragraph, well, look at, in a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. Okay, what's my first one? Well, obviously, in a hole. In is my preposition, hole is the noun. What's in between? An article, an adjective. Okay, my next one, in the ground. In is my preposition, ground is my object of the preposition, the is the article. Okay, now because they're at the beginning of the sentence, both of them, well, I'm not going to say that, excuse me. The first one is my adverb phrase, but in the ground tells me about the whole. That's my adjective phrase. Okay? I'm going to let you continue, let Mr. Bradley lead you through this, and we'll talk soon. Bye now.